Princess Anne, the Queen's only daughter and the unshakable pillar of royal duty, has taken legal action against Queen Camilla. But why? What could drive a woman who has spent her life upholding the monarchy's traditions to break them so boldly? The royal family has always been a fortress of order, its rules carved in stone, its public image fiercely protected. Yet now that fortress is under siege, not from the outside, but from within. The whispers began as rumors, dismissed as mere gossip, but then came the leaks. The hushed voices from within palace walls speaking of a rift so deep it could fracture the monarchy itself. For centuries, the British royal family has maintained an iron grip on its internal affairs. Disputes were handled in secrecy, far from the public eye. To admit to internal conflict was to admit to weakness, and weakness had no place in the House of Windsor. But this time something is different. This is not a petty disagreement or a clash of egos. This is a legal war. A royal battle unlike anything seen before. The gravity of such an action cannot be overstated. For a senior royal to drag another into a legal dispute is to invite scrutiny, to challenge the very foundation of an institution built on unity and tradition. And if even Princess Anne, the most steadfast of royals, has reached a breaking point, then the question is no longer whether this will damage the monarchy, but how much. Speculation is rampant. Some say this is about power, about Anne refusing to accept Camilla's growing influence within the royal family. Others believe it's personal, that the old wounds between them never truly healed. And then some whisper of betrayal, of a line crossed that even decades of royal decorum could not erase. The public is captivated, dissecting every royal appearance, analyzing every carefully crafted palace statement, and searching for hidden meanings in royal gestures. The tabloids are ablaze with theories, each more shocking than the last. Could this be about inheritance? About royal titles? A secret uncovered? Or is it something far more dangerous? Something that threatens the very future of the monarchy itself? The weight of the situation is crushing. This is not just a personal battle between two women, it is a test of the monarchy's resilience. The world is watching, waiting for the next move. If history has taught us anything, it is that when the royal family is at war with itself, the consequences are felt far beyond the palace gates. To understand what led to this seismic event, we must look deeper, beyond the headlines and the scandalous whispers. We must examine the lives of these two women, their histories, their ambitions, their grudges, and uncover the truth hidden beneath layers of royal protocol. Before we uncover the legal battle, let's explore Princess Anne's extraordinary role in the monarchy and why she commands such deep respect. Princess Anne has never been one to conform. In a family where appearances mean everything, she has always been the one to put duty above status and action above words. The Queen's only daughter, born into a life of unimaginable privilege, could have easily settled into the comforts of royal luxury, but that was never her way. While others in the monarchy embraced the pomp and grandeur of their titles, Anne did something radical. She walked away from it. She refused to grant her children royal titles, choosing instead to raise them as private citizens. It was a decision that shocked many, but for Anne it was simple. Titles mean nothing if you aren't willing to work for the world you live in. And work she did. Her commitment to service is unmatched. Over 300 charities bear her name, not as a passive patron, but as an active force, a woman who has spent decades fighting for causes far beyond the royal bubble. From Save the Children to the Carers Trust, her work is not for spectacle but for impact. Unlike the carefully curated appearances of other royals, Anne doesn't just show up, she immerses herself in the cause. She has spent years traveling to war zones, disaster areas, and impoverished regions, not for photo opportunities, but to understand and to act. The public sees her as the hardest-working royal, a woman who has completed more engagements than even the reigning monarch. She is relentless, tireless, a royal by blood, but a worker by heart. But beneath her unwavering dedication is a woman of steel. Anne has never been afraid to speak her mind and never hesitated to defy expectations. She is blunt, sharp-witted, and fiercely independent. When faced with intrusive paparazzi, she didn't smile politely like her royal counterparts, she told them to naff off. Her reputation as a no-nonsense royal is legendary. She doesn't tolerate nonsense, doesn't bow to public pressure, and certainly doesn't play the game of royal politics. Unlike others who carefully maneuver through the delicate web of monarchy, Anne is direct, sometimes brutally so. She has been called difficult, cold, even unapproachable. But those who know her best understand that her bluntness isn't cruelty, it's conviction. For all her strength, Anne has never sought the spotlight. She prefers work over ceremony, action over words. While other royals revel in their carefully curated public image, she remains indifferent to the allure of fame. Even in her personal life, she is unassuming. She does her makeup, styles her hair, drives herself to engagements, and even fixes the fences on her estate. She is as far from the traditional image of royalty as one could imagine, and yet she is respected deeply, unquestionably, because while others uphold the monarchy's traditions, Anne upholds its integrity. Now, for the first time in her life, she has been forced into the center of a storm she did not create. Her decision to take legal action against Queen Camilla is not one she made lightly. It is not a publicity stunt, not a moment of impulsive defiance. It is something far greater. Anne has always been a woman of action, and now she is taking the biggest action of all, challenging the Queen herself. But who is she up against? To understand the scale of this battle, we must examine the rise of Queen Camilla. She was once the most hated woman in Britain, a scandal that shook the very core of the royal family. The name Camilla Parker Bowles was whispered with disdain, her reputation cemented as the villain in the greatest royal love triangle of the modern age. For years, she was cast as the woman who destroyed a fairy tale, the mistress who stood in the shadow of Princess Diana, forever tainted by betrayal. The British public saw her as a homewrecker, the embodiment of everything wrong with the monarchy. But today, against all odds, she sits on the throne as queen, a rise to power that defied expectations, redefined history, and left behind a trail of controversy. But at what cost? And who, even now, refuses to accept her reign? Camilla's journey has been one of endurance, a slow and deliberate transformation from a reviled outsider to an accepted royal. But acceptance did not come easy. When her affair with Prince Charles was exposed, the backlash was swift and brutal. The media shredded her image, painting her as manipulative and deceitful, a woman unworthy of a royal title. Even Queen Elizabeth herself once refused to be in the same room as her. The world watched as Camilla became a pariah, her every move scrutinized, her every word twisted into another headline. But if there's one thing Camilla has proven, it's that she is nothing if not resilient. With time and the calculated guidance of the royal machine, she did what no one thought possible. She turned the tide in her favor. It was a slow redemption, carefully orchestrated. She distanced herself from the scandal, appearing less like a woman who had stolen a prince and more like a devoted partner who had simply loved the wrong man at the wrong time. She dedicated herself to causes that mattered, advocating for literacy, supporting survivors of domestic abuse, and aligning herself with charities that softened her public image. And then, the moment that changed everything was Queen Elizabeth's approval. In a move that shocked even royal insiders, the Queen declared that it was her sincere wish for Camilla to be named Queen Consort. The endorsement was undeniable. It wasn't just a statement, it was a command. The public had no choice but to accept her. Camilla had won, but not everyone believed in her transformation. While the world was forced to accept her as queen, there were those within the palace walls who never forgot the past. Prince Harry made it clear where he stood, branding her as dangerous and a villain, suggesting that her rise to power had been carefully engineered from the very start. And then there was Princess Anne. The relationship between these two women had always been strained, but it went far deeper than just royal politics. Long before Camilla's affair with Charles was revealed, she had a history with Andrew Parker Bowles, Anne's former love interest. The connection was undeniable, the tension between them simmering just beneath the surface for decades. And now, with Camilla crowned queen, the balance of power in the palace had shifted in ways that some could not ignore. Could this growing tension between Anne and Camilla be the real reason behind this shocking legal move? For years, the tension between Princess Anne and Queen Camilla had been an open secret within the palace. It was never spoken about directly, but it was there lingering, in the way Anne held herself during public engagements, in the way she never quite looked Camilla in the eye. For those who understood the unspoken language of the royal family, the signs were clear. Anne had never truly accepted Camilla, but now something had changed. The quiet resentment that had simmered beneath the surface for decades had erupted into a full-blown crisis, and this time there was no concealing it behind palace walls. From the very beginning, Anne had been firm in her belief Camilla would never be queen. It wasn't personal, at least not at first. To Anne, it was about tradition, about the unshakable rules that had defined the monarchy for centuries. A woman who had been at the center of one of the greatest scandals in royal history, a woman whom the public had once despised, could not, in her view, ascend to such a sacred role. But Anne had underestimated the power of time. Slowly, carefully, Camilla had rewritten her own story, and now, against all odds, she sat beside King Charles, crowned and recognized as queen. For Anne, it was not just a shift in titles, it was a power shift. Royal insiders whisper that this was the real source of the tension, not personal dislike, but a battle for influence. For years, Anne had played a crucial role in the family, serving as the monarch's most trusted confidant. She had been the steady hand behind Queen Elizabeth, the unwavering force of duty when others faltered. But with Camilla's rise, that balance was shifting. The Queen Consort had become a force of her own, her presence growing stronger, her voice growing loud. And Anne, once the cornerstone of royal responsibility, was feeling the weight of being sidelined. The breaking point came at the University of London. On the surface, it was just another royal event, an honorary doctorate, a ceremony, a moment of recognition for Camilla's advocacy work. But for those who paid attention, it was much more than that. It was a declaration, a statement that Camilla was not just a figurehead, but a queen whose influence extended beyond the palace gates. And Anne, standing just a few feet away, had to watch it happen. Her demeanor was measured and controlled, as it always was. But for those who knew her, something was different. The stiffness in her stance, the absence of warmth in her expression. Was this the moment she decided that enough was enough? As whispers of legal action grew louder, the palace found itself in the middle of a crisis it could no longer ignore. For the first time in royal history, one senior royal may be suing another. It is a move so unprecedented, so unthinkable, that even the most seasoned royal watchers are left stunned. Princess Anne, the unshakable force of duty, the woman who has spent her life defending the monarchy, is now taking legal action against Queen Camilla. But what could have driven her to such an extraordinary decision? What battle is unfolding behind palace doors that has forced Anne to abandon royal tradition and take her grievances into the legal arena? The British monarchy is built on hierarchy, on rules passed down through generations, rules that have long been unchallenged. But now it seems one of the most respected members of the royal family is refusing to stay silent. Confidential sources suggest that this is more than just a personal dispute. Anne, they say, is challenging Camilla's growing influence within the royal structure. For years, Anne has been a cornerstone of the monarchy, an unwavering figure of stability. But with Camilla now officially queen, the power dynamic has shifted in ways that Anne may not be willing to accept. There are whispers that this legal action could involve royal titles, perhaps even a challenge to Camilla's very right to use the title of queen. Others speculate that financial matters are at the heart of the conflict, and that Anne is pushing back against changes that she believes could damage the integrity of the royal family. And then there is the matter of tradition. Anne has always been a firm believer in the old ways, the unbreakable codes of royal conduct. Could it be that she sees Camilla's influence as a threat to everything the monarchy stands for? Behind palace walls, the tension is mounting. Some insiders claim that Camilla's growing role in key royal decisions has sidelined Anne, stripping her of the authority she once held. It is no secret that Camilla has become a formidable figure within the monarchy, stepping into a position of power that once seemed unimaginable. But is Anne willing to accept that shift? Or is this legal move her final stand, a declaration that she will not be pushed aside without a fight? If this case moves forward, it could fracture the monarchy in ways that no royal crisis has before. This is not a scandal that can be smoothed over with carefully worded statements or controlled public appearances. This is a battle that, if it reaches the courtroom, could expose cracks in the royal foundation that have long been hidden from view. But while the legal details remain in the shadows, the public reaction has been explosive. The world is watching. A battle once confined within the palace walls has spilled into the public domain, and there is no turning back. For centuries, the British monarchy has commanded loyalty, admiration, and, at times, unquestioning devotion. But now, the very institution that once stood as a symbol of unity is being torn apart by a conflict no one saw coming. The people have taken sides, and the debate has turned into a war of words. A fight for tradition versus transformation, legacy versus change. On one side, some rally behind Princess Anne, calling her the last true guardian of royal integrity. On the other, there are Camilla's supporters, who argue that she has fought long and hard for her place and deserves to be recognized as queen. And in the middle of it all, the monarchy stands at the brink of a crisis that could forever alter its future. For Anne's supporters, this is not just about a lawsuit. This is about the preservation of the crown itself. They see her as the last bastion of tradition, a woman who has dedicated her life to duty without seeking reward. To them, Anne is more than just the Queen's daughter, she is the embodiment of everything the monarchy was meant to be. They argue that her actions are not those of a bitter sister-in-law, but of a woman who refuses to watch the institution she has served be reshaped by someone she believes does not deserve the title of Queen. For years, Anne has been a relentless worker, a quiet force in the background, while others have sought attention and power. Now, as Camilla steps fully into her role, some see it as an insult to the principles Anne has upheld her entire life. Could it be that Anne is the only one willing to stand up against what she sees as an erosion of royal values? But Camilla's supporters tell a different story. To them, this lawsuit is not about tradition, it's about resentment. Camilla, they argue, has spent years rebuilding her reputation, proving her commitment to the monarchy and the people. She has endured decades of scrutiny, vilification, and judgment, yet she has emerged stronger. Queen Elizabeth's final blessing was not given lightly, and her endorsement of Camilla as Queen Consort was seen as a declaration that the past had been forgiven. Camilla's supporters believe she has earned her place through patience, resilience, and service. They see Anne's actions as an attempt to undermine a woman who has already fought battles far greater than this one. The message is clear. Camilla is queen, and it is time for everyone, including Anne, to accept it. The debate rages on, taking over headlines, dominating social media, and igniting heated arguments among royalists and skeptics alike. This is no longer just a private matter between two women. It is a referendum on the monarchy itself. Every word, every legal maneuver, every public appearance is being dissected for hidden meaning. And as the royal family remains silent, the public is left to wonder, what will this battle mean for the credibility of the monarchy? Could this legal feud be the final blow to an institution already struggling to remain relevant in the modern world? And what about King Charles? Where does he stand in this royal conflict? King Charles has spent his entire life preparing for the throne. Decades of waiting, watching, and learning are always in the shadow of a mother whose reign defined an era. And now, at last, he is king. But just as he steps into his long-awaited role, a storm is brewing, one that threatens not just his reign, but the very foundation of the monarchy itself. A legal battle within the royal family is something no monarch has ever faced. And worse still, it is a battle between the two women he holds closest, his beloved sister and his wife. Princess Anne, the sister who has been his most steadfast ally, now stands in direct opposition to Queen Camilla, the woman he fought for, the woman who stood by his side through scandal, scrutiny, and exile from public favor. The king is trapped, caught between loyalty and duty, between family and the crown, and the world is waiting to see which side he will take. For Charles, the choice is an impossible one. Anne has been his rock, his most trusted confidant. Through every royal crisis, she has remained by his side, unwavering in her support, never seeking attention, never demanding power. She is the embodiment of royal duty, the only sibling who never wavered in her commitment to the monarchy. And then there is Camilla, the woman he fought the world to be with. Their love story was not just controversial, it was condemned. He sacrificed public approval, risked the monarchy's reputation, and endured years of backlash just to make her his wife. Now she is queen, a title that once seemed impossible for her to hold. Charles has spent years securing her place, legitimizing her role in the royal family, and yet here he is, faced with the very real possibility that his sister, his closest ally, might tear it all apart. His silence is deafening. The royal family is known for staying out of public disputes and for handling conflicts behind closed doors. But this is different. This is not a minor scandal or a fleeting tabloid frenzy. If Anne moves forward with legal action, Charles will be forced to take a side. There is no neutral ground in a battle like this. And so, the question remains, why hasn't he spoken out? Some believe he is working behind the scenes, using his influence to prevent the case from ever reaching court. Others suspect that he is torn, unable to choose between the woman who has been by his side since childhood and the woman he spent a lifetime waiting for. But time is running out. The longer he stays silent, the more the speculation grows, and with every passing day, the monarchy's credibility is further at risk. The stakes could not be higher. A public trial would be catastrophic, an unprecedented disaster that would expose the cracks within the royal family for the world to see. If Charles fails to intervene, this conflict could define his reign before it even truly begins. And if he does, whichever side he chooses could shift the balance of power within the monarchy forever. With the stakes so high, what happens next could change royal history forever. Could this be the beginning of the biggest royal scandal of the decade? Or is it merely another chapter in the monarchy's long history of secrets, scandals, and internal betrayals? The British royal family has weathered storms before, divorces, abdications, and political scandals, but never something like this. A lawsuit, filed by one senior royal against another, is unprecedented. If Princess Anne moves forward with legal action, she will not only be challenging Queen Camilla, but also shaking the very foundations of the monarchy itself. The question now is whether this battle will be waged in private, behind the palace's heavily guarded doors, or if it will spill into the public sphere, leaving the institution to defend itself against scrutiny like never before. If Anne takes this fight to court, the monarchy could enter uncharted territory. It would set a dangerous precedent, one that would prove no royal is untouchable, not even the Queen. For centuries, internal conflicts have been handled discreetly and resolved in silence, with carefully worded public statements masking the true extent of the power struggles within. But this time, silence may not be enough. If the case proceeds, legal documents, testimonies, and buried tensions could be exposed. And in an era where the monarchy is already under pressure to prove its relevance, such an explosive revelation could tip the balance forever. Could this be the moment the institution finally collapses under the weight of its secrets? But Camilla is no stranger to public battles. She has spent decades fighting for legitimacy, for acceptance, for her place within the royal family. If she fights back, it will not be a quiet defense. Those loyal to the Queen will argue that Anne is attempting to disrupt the monarchy's stability and that this is not about tradition, but about personal grudges. And if this turns into a full-scale war, Charles may be forced to intervene not just as king, but as a husband, as a brother, as a ruler trying to prevent his family from fracturing beyond repair. There is a fine line between royal decorum and complete chaos, and this battle threatens to push the monarchy closer to the latter than ever before. Behind closed doors, negotiations are already underway. Insiders claim that efforts are being made to prevent this from escalating and that powerful figures within the monarchy are scrambling to find a resolution before it is too late. The palace operates like a well-oiled machine, built to protect its own, to suppress scandals before they spiral out of control. But this time, can they succeed? Or has the damage already been done? One thing is certain, this is a battle that will be remembered for generations. What do you think? Share your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.